Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hi, and welcome to the New Warehouse Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Lawton. Today on the show, I am joined with Tom O'Brien. He is the Material Handling and Logistics Sales Manager for Gamber Johnson. Gamber Johnson provides different accessories to allow you to mount different systems and hardware to multiple pieces of equipment in the logistics and distribution industries. So Tom is going to talk to us a little bit about Gamber Johnson, what they do, the products that they offer, and then talk to us about how the products that they offer can make a difference in your operation and give you a little more flexibility and how to go about choosing the correct option for your application. So Tom, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the invite. Thank you for letting me join your podcast.
Definitely happy to have you on and talk about Gamber Johnson. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first and how you kind of got into this business?
Absolutely. So I have been with Gamber Johnson for 13 years, and I came on as their first product manager back in 2007. And I was charged with basically looking at their current product line, finding places we could streamline obsolete products, and just generally grow the product line in the markets that we served at that time. And predominantly we were in public safety, fire, EMS, and fleet, enterprise. Okay. So my background in product management, project management, and sales and marketing is what led me to Gamber Johnson. And since that time, I have moved into as you mentioned, a sales manager position.
So now for the folks that are listening and maybe they're not so familiar with Gamber Johnson, why don't you tell us a little bit about Gamber Johnson and what you guys do exactly? You can give us the kind of a overall view and then maybe give us a little more targeted view for distribution logistics industries.
Absolutely. So Gamber Johnson has been around since about 1954. We were established in 1954. And believe it or not, we were a furniture business. We used to make stereo consoles and different type of furniture products. And since the late 1980s, yeah, it is when you think about it, going from wood to metal. It's kind of a neat story. And since the late 1980s, we've been a trusted partner of not only vehicle OEMs, but computer OEMs in the rugged mounting space. And you might say, well, how did you make that transition? And
that's exactly what I was thinking.
The stories I understand, the stories I understand it is we had a local agency come in and said, hey, they're mounting these things called computers in police cars and other vehicles, and hey, do you want to help us do this? And the rest is history. So fast forward to 2019, and Gamber Johnson is one of the leading manufacturers of rugged mounting solutions and docking stations serving multiple markets. And manufacturing logistics are two of the newest markets we've been serving since about 2010. And public safety, fire, EMS, enterprise, military, and anybody mounting rugged mobility is who we've been serving since the late 1980s. We're a global manufacturer. We're exporting to over 40 countries at this time. And we live by a little saying around the office called the 3 R's. We're rugged, reliable, and responsive. And we feel that's what makes us unique in the industry, is the ruggedness of our product, the reliability of our product, and then the responsiveness of not only our people returning calls, getting product out into the customer's hands, and being on site to help them serve. So we're a leading manufacturer in the rugged mobile space.
And I like the 3 R's. Definitely something to live by and a good motto.
It's actually, it took us long enough to get to those 3 R's, but now that we're using them, it just really, we've been doing it forever. We just didn't put anything to it. And now that, now we do. And you're right. It just rolls. It just rolls and makes sense.
Definitely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, because you talked about, you guys got your start with police vehicles, obviously, and different emergency response vehicles and that type of thing. So why don't you talk to us a little bit how you guys ended up getting into the material handling and logistics side of things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's. I actually told the story earlier today to a customer that I was speaking with for the first time, and they asked the same question. So I'm glad we had a chance to talk about this. One of the things that we do real well is we mount in the rugged space. And as a product manager, you're always out looking for gaps in markets, new verticals that you might be able to approach and penetrate. And I went to ProMat in 2009 in Chicago, and I walked for 2 days going, why are we not making stuff for forklifts? Just why aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the project fell on my lap about 6 months later, and the rest is history. We did our first vehicle mounting project for a forklift company who was serving a paper company.
Okay.
And it took about 3 months of developing product to meet the customer's need. And by the time we were done, the engineer that was helping me design this and I looked at each other and said, now what? And he goes, you're the product manager, launch it. So we did. So we started launching rugged mobile mounting products as early as 2010 for the material handling or the supply chain market space. And what really catapulted us into the space was the movement to go from the VMUs and vehicle-specific computers to tablets. Tablets and printers have become probably one of the industry's most sought-after device now in mobility within the four walls. And so Gambler Johnson was a natural fit. We're aligned with many different computer OEMs. And we make their docking stations and their cradles. We understand the market. Mm-hmm. We understand mounting in the rugged world. I mean, we've mounted Stryker vehicles and other military vehicles and police cars that are involved in rollovers, and our stuff just doesn't move. It doesn't break. It doesn't fail. So we understand the rugged market. And when we took a look at this market and we saw, these guys aren't just driving around in buildings. They're crossing docking plates going into semi-trucks and cargo containers and rail cars. We realized that, we make a product that would align real well into the space. So tablets and printers have really helped catapult us into the market, along with many other peripherals that are out there that you're seeing on these vehicles. The blue and the red lights, sensors, scanners, the printers, lights. One of the conversations I have with some of the other sales guys in my company that focus on public safety is that the forklifts that I serve are starting to look like the cop cars that you serve. And they laugh at me, but true. Then when I say, look, I've got printers and scanners and radios and lights and computers and keyboards, they go, oh, he's not kidding.
Yeah, you got like a little office on wheels.
So, you do. And quite frankly, 24/7, that's somebody's office when they're moving goods for that company.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
And so what we do, the approach that we take is a total solution approach. A company may only need just one or two components, but there are a number of companies that we work with that literally need a complete solution from the battery, from the wiring that goes from the battery to the power supply all the way up to the tablet and everything in between.
Yeah.
So not only can we serve the myopic, I just need to mount this computer or this tablet or this device, we can also come in with a complete solution saying, look, we can take care of your computer, your tablet. We can help you mount your scanner. We can help you mount your printer and everything else you're trying to do. What makes us successful really is that total solution approach.
So why don't you tell us a little bit, you mentioned there about the power source and the battery. So, for people that are not familiar, you guys don't just do the mount itself. You do a whole tie-in so that the system can operate off a power supply as well too, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Correct. I sure can, and that's a great question. One of the things that a lot of people take a look at their forklifts, and they go, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do it. And we've really brought it down to there's 4 questions you can ask. Yeah. What am I mounting? Which means what device am I mounting? What am I mounting it to? What vehicle am I mounting it to? Am I mounting it to a forklift, a turret, a pallet rider, a pallet jack, a walkie? What am I mounting? Even carts. What am I mounting it to? And then what power do I need to drive what I'm trying to power up? And then what are the peripherals am I using? Okay. And the power piece is critical because the predominant vehicle that we are mounting to is really the electric vehicle. And you've got some varying voltages. Your most common are 24, 36, and 48. But you also have 80-volt vehicles that are becoming more and more common. So you actually have to take that power from that vehicle, and you've got to convert it down to the power that the device accepts. So some computers accept 12 volts, some computers accept 19.6, some compute 15 volts. So knowing what your vehicle's voltage is and knowing what your device's voltage is allows you to then pick the right power supply for the device. And then once you put the power supply on there, you want something that's always going to deliver clean and consistent power to your device. You don't want surges you want to protect against spikes, under voltage, anything that could change that power. So you have to look at very specific power supplies. You can't just go connect to a source on a 12-volt source or a spot on the battery and go, I'm good. Yeah. You have to make sure whatever power you're taking to the device, you're delivering to the device, meets the need of the device and doesn't shut down the device or I'll say take the device out or even take our dock out. So power is really critical, but it's a really easy barrier to overcome. And you simply need to know what's the power of the vehicle, what's the voltage of the vehicle, and what's the device take. And it's really easy. And then we have very specific power supplies that are tailored to the different computer OEMs that we work with. And even those that we don't work with, there are a lot of different tablets out there. And we may not have a direct relationship with them, but we've mounted their product before. We know what their voltages are. We know how to consult. So the power piece, I think, really comes down to, those 2 aspects. What's the vehicle power output and what's my device input?
Okay, definitely. Yeah, because I've seen mounts before where, there's really no power. It's just like this mount is here to hold my device. And I think that's kind of, it's nice, but at the same time, you want to be able to just have power there because you don't want to stop working because your device is going to die or something like that.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right because downtime is not good. I mean, literally, you're computing seconds. Believe it or not, you're computing seconds. Oh, yeah. Minutes and seconds when you're doing this, and I'll tell you a real quick story. I had a customer 2 years ago that said, "No, I don't need. We're not going to buy any of your power. We're not going to do it. We know what we're doing." And I'm not kidding. I said, "Hey, whatever you do, don't try to use the AC power supply that came with the device, and then try to convert it." And they kept calling saying, "Hey, Gamber Johnson, your stuff's not working. Your stuff's not working." We went on site, and they were using a $39 converter to convert from the vehicle to another converter, and then they were converting that down to the 12 volts to get into the dock.
Wow.
And every time there was none of it had over voltage protection in it. Every time there was a spike, it shut everything down. And it was costing this company thousands of dollars a week because they weren't picking as quickly as they were. Right. So we literally came in and said, replace all of that with this one isolated power supply. And instantaneously overnight, they haven't had a problem since. And so, not doing the right, not having the right power source can shut you down, literally.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's a great example too, like just in general for, people who are maybe trying to save a couple bucks, but in the long run don't realize, how much money it's going to cost them that they save that money up front, but in the long run they're going to lose, like you said, they're losing thousands of dollars, right? Because they have all this time lost in between. And
we try to consult ahead of time so that doesn't happen. So.
Okay, very good. So now, most of the time, when we're talking about equipment of this nature, technical equipment, we're going to work with our IT departments. And so typically IT will order the equipment, but not necessarily have the experience of being in the operation or being a material handler or being on the floor and really understanding how the equipment is going to be utilized. So what do you see is typically the gap that exists when IT departments order the equipment versus thinking of how the equipment will actually be utilized, and how do you guys kind of work around that for people?
Absolutely. That's a great question because we run into that literally all of the time. When I am talking to, if an IT specific person calls me and starts asking me questions, one of the first questions I ask is your operations manager involved? Do you have an operator involved in the decision-making process? And, even safety to a point. And a lot of times the answer is no, because they're so myopic, and there's a reason they are. They're very myopic because they're like, look, my charge is to find this technology so that I can pull this data, scan this, make all this happen. The accounting department can bill it. The payables department can do their thing. The customer gets the product that was picked properly, and they're very, very focused on that. And many times, if it's just solely IT related, they might miss things that you mentioned, like how is the operator actually using it on the vehicle? What does it need to be? One of the most common comments that we still get to date is we'll come into an operation and we'll literally ask them, once they show us what they're currently doing, we'll ask them, well, can we mount it over here? Would that help you? Would that be better ergonomically? Would that be better? And they're like, you can do that? And they don't realize that there's no rule that says you have to put it right up here in the driver's view on the overhead guard, right in front of the mast where he's trying to pick. We can move it down here to the overhead guard leg, away from the controls, where he can reach over easily and enter data or scan data and then hit the enter key. So the gap is and you hit it, was not really understanding how the equipment's being used when it's on the vehicle. Getting the equipment to talk to the facility, to the infrastructure, the wireless and all of that, they're awesome at. But many times they forget about the people using it. And, then there's a lot of times too, they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to the operators. They hate us. Well, when you start getting the two involved, they become best friends, because I was on site last year at a paper company, and they literally saved $50,000 on a project because an operator came in and said, I don't use it that way. And I said, well, how do you use it? And then they showed us. I'm like, oh, well, let's do this, this, and this, and we'll repurpose this. You don't have to buy all this stuff now. You just they bought the new computers, they bought the new docks, the power supplies, but they didn't need all the mounts that they thought they would need. And it saved them a substantial amount of money. And that operator actually got an award for saving the company money. But the IT guy even said to me, I had no idea that they used it this way. So, for the IT person, content is king. Like we've been talking about, data, how I talk, what's the infrastructure, so on and so forth. Okay. And they're really good at capturing and accurately processing that data. And that's what they do. And they're the experts at the tech deployment. But again, many times they're only looking at the technology. They're not looking at the deployment. So one of the things that I like to have happen is if you can get a fleet manager or the operations manager or the general manager in the same room as the IT person, along with an operator, you can move mountains. I did a very large logistics project 2 years ago, huge, and we're still sending stuff out. And they had all those people on the floor, and they had all those comments come in, and it literally resulted in us making a new product for this company, which is now a core product at our company. From the feedback that we got from all three entities.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I think that's like a huge, huge example and some really good points for, the point to make that you need to collaborate, with your different departments, especially when you're working in operations because, like you said, they think about, I have to get this done on the back end, but then they never think about the actual physical process and how that's going to work. So I think that's a really good point. Yeah, and I'm happy that you guys, that's one of the questions that you ask up front is, do you have someone involved from operations? Because I think that's a huge, huge thing. So you talked a little bit about how you got the operators involved and how they said, we can move it to different areas and things like that. So why don't you give some examples and tell us, how the Gamber Johnson products can actually help the work experience for the actual users, those operators?
Oh yeah, thank you. That's a great question because that's what we do. So our focus for many years was when we're inside the police cars and we're inside the ambulances, we're inside these trucks and these different fleet vehicles. It's all about ergonomics and safety and ruggedness. And one of the things we looked at was, can we take the same facets that we look at inside the motor vehicle and bring it into the forklift material handling world? And the answer is yes. So our product is designed so that we can make it very ergonomic for the operator. It's very safe, ease of use. And when I say ease of use, they can tilt, swivel, rotate, move it where they need it, and be rugged. And so our product allows you to adapt to your environment. I was at a large agricultural manufacturer a couple of years ago, and in the morning, there was a woman that was 4 foot 9 inches tall running a forklift, and her counterpart in the evening was a guy that was 6'4", ran about 325 pounds. They didn't put the computers in the same spots, right? Yeah. Oh, exactly. They didn't put the computers in the same spot. She's got a different view and this, that, and the other thing. So we were able to put together a solution that would adapt to both of their requirements so that when she got in, she could move everything towards her comfortably and it would be out of the way and she could see everything. When he got on the vehicle, he could move it away, stick his cooler on the back of his forklift, close the cab door and move on. And yet they had complete visibility around the vehicle. When the vehicle stopped, they were able to grab the scanner easily, scan what they needed to scan, enter the data, and move on to the next pick. So really how my product improves the user experience is it's just the adaptability to meet the ergonomic, the safety, and the ease of use that you really want when you're in these vehicles. So many companies fix mount them, and they fix mount the display, and they forget about who's standing on the vehicle. Yeah. And if you particularly like a stand-up or a reach vehicle, there are many people that, they mount that computer or that display or that tablet way out of the operator's way. And then when you look at the operator actually using a keypad, they're reaching above their shoulders to type something in. This happens all the time. Right. So, for us, it's about the ergonomics of the installation and where can we mount the products on the vehicle, on the forklift, wherever, that are ergonomically efficient as well. So I would just say our product allows you to adapt to your users' needs, adapt to your organization. And one thing that's cool about us, and this is why I love our company, Henry Ford used to say you can have it in any color. You can have a Model T in any color you want as long as it's black. Yeah. We're not one of these companies that are going to say we don't have that. We go in and say, well, what do we need? And if we need a bracket, we go make the bracket. And because you're always learning. I woke up one day and said we need to be in this market. What I didn't do was go, we need all this product. I didn't know. It took me years of talking to OEM manufacturers, service technicians in the field, operators on the forklifts. And I'll tell you one other thing that paid off for me was I went and got my forklift certification.
Okay.
Because I went, whoa,
Yeah.
okay, this helps me. And then I could literally sit down with the engineers and then with great confidence say, that's not going to work, and here's why it's not going to work. I would just say our adaptability.
So we talked a little bit about how you guys have flexibility for the workers themselves. So now, what about flexibility when it comes to fleets with multiple different types of machinery, maybe from different manufacturers, a mix of, leased vehicles from one company versus owned vehicles from another company, something of that nature, or even like different size devices. So if you're using, maybe they have some older devices on some older machines and then some newer devices on newer machines, different sizes and things of that nature. What kind of flexibility do you guys have there?
That's a great question as well, and that's why I'm really proud of our product line. We can pretty mount, and I tell people this, we can mount to anything inside the four walls. And I deal with fleets on a daily basis where the fleet manager, the IT manager will send me a list of these are all the vehicles they're going to mount to, and they could be Raymond stand-ups, Toyotas, Crown pallet riders. And what we do is we sit down and we go through that list and we build BOMs, bill of materials. We build BOMs using the brackets that are specific to those vehicles and based on not only specificity to the vehicle, but how we know the operator may use it and what they're mounting. And so we actually have such a wide variety of products that we can mount to a Yale roll form with a specific bracket and then build onto it with our universal stuff, or a Toyota roll form. So we're very familiar with who's using tubes, who's using roll form, what everybody's overhead guard structure looks like. So the multiple brand piece is very easy for us. As long as you provide us with a make and a model of the vehicle, we've got a solution for it, and we can adapt to it. And we have some great relationships with some vehicle dealer distributors that have these vehicles, and they let us come in, they let us try to figure stuff out. And the cool thing is they learn while we're doing it, because they're like, oh my God, I just had my service technician weld up 20 of those, and you've got something that clamps right onto it. So multiple brands is we're really good at. And for us, it's just a matter of send us that list, and we'll send you a BOM back immediately saying, this is the recommendation. And so we do real well with fleets with multiple brands. And as I alluded to, because of that, we've got some vehicle-specific mounts. If somebody calls and says, hey, I'm mounting you a Crown PE 4500 pallet rider, and I want to mount this 30-pound display to their work assist tube, we can come back and say, you don't want to do that because that assist tube's not rated to handle that kind of weight. We've got a bracket that adapts directly to that vehicle that will allow you to keep the work assist tube on there, but put the device in a safe spot and make sure it's rugged. So we've got the vehicle-specific mounts, and again, a lot of this we learn through our OEM relationships. With the different vehicle OEMs. So we talked to Clark, we talked to Raymond, we talked to Yale, we talked to Hyster. We talk to all these guys, and we learn a lot from them. That helps us to adapt to the multiple fleets.
Okay, great. That's great to have that flexibility. So now, sounds like there's a lot of options and a lot of stuff that you guys can accommodate. So how can someone who is maybe listening right now, operations professional, and they're thinking about, I need something like this for my fleet, how can they go about choosing the correct option? And will you guys kind of guide them through that?
That takes us back to the four basic questions, and it's real simple. What device are you trying to mount? What vehicle are you trying to mount it to? What's the power, and what peripherals are being connected to it? Are there scanners, keyboards, are they being connected to it? And with that knowledge, you can literally go to our website, and you can say, okay, I've got this vehicle, it's got a standard overhead rectangular overhead guard leg, and this is where I want to mount it on that vehicle. I just need this dual clamshell with arm. And or they might say, I've got a Yale or Heister with a roll form. I just need this bracket and then build off of that. So once you know the make and the model, that makes it really easy to find what bracket you want.
All right.
Now, the device, one of the things that we did in our design, one of the things that I'm really proud of is in our design, we've got all the universal hole patterns in our base plates. Mm-hmm. So where it used to be, well, what are you trying to mount? Can you tell me what the hole pattern is? We took all that confusion out. Our standard clamshell, our standard mount has VESA 75 in it, which is universal. It has amps, which is universal. It has NEC. And then it has a couple other holes, too, in case somebody needs to adapt to a very specific bracket that might offer, I have a customer that, hey, I can use that 1 3/8 hole that's in your clamshell and adapt right from my bracket. So because we put all the hole patterns on there, we've taken the guesswork out of, can you mount to that device? So 95% of the stuff that's out there, maybe even a little higher, will adapt directly to our clamshell or our device with the multiple hole patterns on it. Now, in some cases, you might need to have an adapter plate for a very specific computer OEM. We have those as well. Okay. So if somebody calls us up and says, for instance, I'm buying the VC80 from Zebra, we can say, okay, you need the 7160-1285 adapter plate, and that makes it now compatible with everything. It's that easy. And the other thing that they can do, too, is they go, I've been on your website. I think I know what you want. Yeah. Pick up the phone and call us. We've got an entire team dedicated to taking those calls, taking those emails. We've got a veritable, just an unimaginable amount of digital media that we can share as well, saying, oh, you're trying to mount this to this. Here, we've got a picture of it. Or we've got something that's similar and use it as a proof of concept. So the 4 questions really dial it in, not only for the person that's trying to figure it out, but for us. Because like I said, if we have the answers to, at a minimum, 2 of them, what device you're trying to mount and what's the vehicle you're trying to mount to, we can figure the power piece out. We can. Yeah. And then, quite frankly, pretty much everything I'm mounting now is either getting a scanner, a printer, and a keyboard, or all 3 mounted to it. Okay. So the next question is, are you using those 3? And that's, if for somebody that's a novice to this, they can literally go out to our website, take a look at our gallery, see some pictures of what people are, what other companies have done, by computer OEM and by vehicle. And then our website kind of guides you through that process. And then we have some literature, too, in the literature side of our website specific to material handling that asks the same 4 questions. And then, oh, my gosh, I'm putting that computer on my forklift, and there's a whole brochure. And then you start looking in the brochure, which is PDF, and there are the part numbers. And they're like, well, wait a second, there's my forklift. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do,
Perfect.
So for a novice, ask yourself the 4 questions and pick up the phone and call or email.
Awesome. So how do people find out more about Gamber Johnson? What is the website, and how do they get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Great. The first thing is go out to our website at www.gamberjohnson.com. Okay. And my daughter would say, Dad, don't do www anymore. But gamberjohnson.com, that's the first place to start. And it's really easy after that to get to the material handling information. At the very top of our website, there's a link that says mounting solutions or mounting products. And you highlight that, you scroll down to material handling, you click on it, and you're there. It just takes you right to it. There's an 800 number on our website that you can call. And there's also a link if you want information that you just click on that link, you fill out the form, and you'll get a call or an email pretty much within an hour or so from somebody at our company saying, I understand that you're looking to do this. Do you have some time to talk to us? And we'll help you get the answers that you need. So to get a hold of us, that's one thing that people really like about us, is that we're very responsive. I've had people call me back saying, look, I'm only looking for one bracket, but boy, you asked some questions I didn't have answers to. Yeah. Let's have a conversation. And then they realized, they were asking for one bracket, but they also needed these 3 other pieces to make it, to do what they needed. They'd only found out found 1/3 of the product. So our website, on our website's our 800 number, and there's also a link to Gamber Johnson that you can send a general inquiry to as well, a contact form. Those are the easiest ways to find us.
All right, great. We'll post that on the website, too, as well, at thenewwarehouse.com. So, Tom, thanks so much for coming on the show, and thank you for talking to us about Gamber Johnson.
And Kevin, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Glad we got to have this conversation.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.